Welcome to the Trash Talk Business Podcast, episode 20, or for my military folks, that is 20. If you're here looking to grow, scale, get in or get out of the junk removal industry, including but not limited to curbside service, traditional junk removal, dumpsters, I'm sure I'm missing stuff, deconstruction, here is the place to be, where we talk everything trash and a little trash along the way. I'm Andy Weins, joined by my good buddy who's not underwater this week, Casey Bubba Lawrence from the great state of Texas. Casey, what are we talking about this week?
How to start a junk removal business, apparently.
Apparently?
Yeah, I like it.
We got a guest.
We do.
I like it. So our show prep consists of, hey, you want to be on the show? Cool. What do you want to talk about? That? Good. Press record. So this is as far as we've got into the conversation. A lot of people on other podcasts, they have this, oh, remember we were talking about that 10 minutes ago? That drives me mad. So the less I know, the better. Chris Lawrence, why don't you introduce yourself and why are you here?
Well, my name's Chris Lawrence. I live in a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina.
Ooh.
And I'm tired of my job and I want to work for myself. And I feel like this is the thing for me. So doing as much research as I can. I've done a lot of research and I'm ready to jump into it.
I like it. You know, this reminds me of an organization I'm part of, a CEO roundtable, and it's kind of like AA. And I have been an AA meeting more than once, so just full transparency. But it's like, hi, my name's Andy, and I'm an entrepreneur, because it's who you are and it's what you do. And sometimes you have to define, like, hey, this is who I am. And what I loved about what you just said, you already tell me you're an operations person, because you started with what you're not going to do. So I used to do a speech on this, how to tell how someone is by asking 3 questions. We didn't even get to the 3 questions. You already give me a tidbit of information that's interesting. All right. So Charlotte, North Carolina, I'm actually going to be down there. For anybody that's listening to Charlotte and you, I'm going to be down in Charlotte.
We both will.
We're going to be in Raleigh. We're going to be in Raleigh. I'm going to be in Charlotte without you in November, unless you're going to Charlotte.
Yeah, I'll go to Charlotte.
Personal travel. I'll go to Charlotte, though. Love North Carolina. All right, so you got a job. You don't want to be in the job. You've done research. What research have you had? What questions do you have? What's stopping you? Let's just get right into the good stuff.
I've been with the same company for 18 years now. And worked through them all through college, kept going. After college, I was actually supposed to be, when I was done with college, I was supposed to go into the Marine Corps. And that was 2011, so that's when the big military budget cuts hit. And I lost my spot in OCS, so I stayed with what I was doing. And I've just been going ever since. And a couple months ago, it was like a Office Space moment where it was like someone just literally came beside me and turned a knob. And I just said, you know what, I'm not going to do this anymore. And I came home that day, told my wife, and she was completely on board. So she's always thought that I could do something better doing it myself. So that's where I'm at right now.
So so you've done research. What is it telling you in junk removal? In your area, is it? Yeah, why? Let's start there. Why junk removal?
I kind of went down that YouTube rabbit hole one day. And it just, I don't even know why it came up. It was some guy doing junk removal and led to the next video. And I was like, you know, I know how to work really hard. I could do this. And I could do it myself, do it my way, the way I want to do it. And I always wanted to start a business, and I never really knew what kind of business I wanted to do. But I feel like this, you know, fit my personality.
So what about it? What about it fit your personality?
Hard work.
Okay. Doing it yourself. Well, that's a good place to start because junk removal is exactly that. I've told people, you know, the barriers to entry in junk removal are very minimal, right? Yeah. Truck, trailer, and a good attitude. That's kind of what you need. And if you got a second person or a helper, you're already ahead of a lot of guys. I know a lot of guys that are out there humping it by themselves, hustling. You know, they're bringing helpers as needed, or scale. But even the CEO of 1-800 Got Junk, right after 4 or 5 years of running his company, when things weren't going the direction he wanted it to go, he fired everybody. I said, hold on, I got to get back to the basics of doing this myself.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk about a truck or a truck and trailer and yourself, that's it. Now, the challenge with that in junk removal is that also means that the guy next door to you can also jump in.
Sure.
So let's jump into that, to be honest with ourselves. In your research, what have you found? How is your market, or what have you researched, I should say, in your market that leads you to believe that, okay, you can do it, but also the market, that you have a place to get into this market? It could be a very crowded space at times.
Well, I have looked to see who the competitors are in this area, and you have, the typical 1-800-JUNK. But there's a lot of mom and pop operations. It's a really large city. Well, relatively large city. The population where I'm at is 15,000 people just in the town. And then, the Charlotte, just in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County is 1.1 million. And I'm right on the border of that. So
how far are you from downtown? Give me an idea.
Like uptown Charlotte, the center city?
Or uptown, downtown, whatever y'all call it.
Like 15 miles, 20 miles.
So 30, 35 minutes?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then you're in the middle of the donut. How far out?
Right next to the airport too, so.
Gotcha. It might be significant depending on what other commercial opportunities are there.
Warehouse space around there for, expansion. So
how far, if you start driving, so where are you actually, I'm just going to pull it up on a map. I'm not going to guess. Where are you exactly? What's the city you're in?
The town is Belmont. It's west of Charlotte.
All right. So the reason I ask is because I talk about the donut, and the donut of junk removal, which is, here's your downtown metropolitan area, right? Wherever it is, we'll call it that, right? There's your downtown metropolitan area. Downtown has never been successful for me in multiple different cities. And then you have the donut, right? Where you have like the immediate residential areas. It's still city, right? But it's residential areas. And then it kind of fades out into the suburbs and more commercial areas. And then it turns into rural. And for the model I've seen, when you want to scale and have multiple trucks and trailers, you got to own the donut. You don't want the center of the hole, and you don't want to be outside. And what you'll find is that's where you have a lot of, or you have a lack of customer density and typically a high amount of competition. Because the center of the donut, for example, everyone is close because everyone's typically in the donut. So everyone can get to the center of the donut pretty quick. So now you have not a lot of customers, and there's a lot of reasons behind that. You got high-rise buildings. People don't have as much stuff. People aren't moving as often, so they're not collecting as much stuff. You also have a lot of commerce, so you don't have a lot of businesses that are moving necessarily like you do in other places, like in suburbia where you have retail consistently moving, and cleaning out retail space is always good and whatever, right? And then on the outside of the donut, you have a lack of population, so you have a lack of consumers, and you have a lack of movement. People don't move as much in rural areas as they do in suburban areas. And everyone has a cousin or uncle or buddy or someone with a truck. That's it, right? So it's not this perceived competition of other companies, but people will do work for cheaper. Beer and pizza is cheaper than paying you. That's the best way to put it. So with that said, so I'm looking at the map. You're right on the river-ish, right? You got a river separating you and Charlotte. So how far out, if you start driving west, how far out before you hit kind of nothing?
So that's it. You see the small city of Gastonia? So that would be, once you get past that, then it's pretty rural.
Okay. And okay, so me and my hillbilly math, looking at that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, right? I'm already looking at that. So for our viewers at home that are watching, here we are. Okay, so when I talk about the donut, this almost couldn't have been better. Charlotte, God bless you and your donut, right? I love your donut. Okay, so when I see this, I don't know what y'all call this, Highway 29.
Metroplex.
Like you got
Interstate 485.
Yeah.
So I've never been to Charlotte. Okay, so like this area here, like you got almost a perfect circle, baby. Right? This is the this is the area I stay out of. Of course, it wants to like pick up Second Ward and all this other stuff. Right? So I stay out of that. And I would argue, having never been to Charlotte, your sweet spot starts somewhere in here, right? And then it goes out to what you talked about.
Where's Belmont in
is
comparison, real quick?
Belmont's right here.
Man, it's okay.
You see my mouse?
Yeah, it's just a little tiny.
See me circling? Yeah.
Okay.
But you see that nice circle? Like I would say 485. If you got
the outer
you
ring.
got 20 minutes. Yeah, 485, 20 minutes on each side of 485. That's your sweet spot. That's it, right? And then the goal, especially for you, because of the way that the city is broken up. Yeah, you have the airport. The challenge I always have the airports is it's a big area of dead space, right? It's just something you have to drive around. But there is also a high density of commerce around the airport. That's just me, right? Commercial density. But I like this. Honestly, when I'm looking at your map, I like this pocket right here. I like Gastonia. I would run that. I would run 85 east west and then work your way into Charlotte because you want to win.
There's much competition in Gastonia, so
that's okay. I want to win in Belmont. I want to win in Gastonia before I go into Charlotte, which is name every swinging junk removal company out there.
Pick your battles.
And again, this is right. Exactly. Yeah. Win this corridor here with your 1 or 2 trucks, and then move on to something bigger. So I just typed in this area. Just want to see how big that is. There you go. 80,000. It's up from, okay. So between Gastonia and Belmont, you got 100,000 people. That is, there you go. Own that, and you can put 2 trucks on the road, and you never have to go inside the 485 loop.
So using this
to market and advertise.
Using this concept, by the way, Chris, there's 2 different ways of looking at it, right? Do you want to race to the bottom, or do you want to work your way up to the top? Because if you go straight into the city, you're going to be racing to the bottom. You're going to be trying to...
Yep, lowest price wins.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And then you'll also find that not just lowest price wins, but you're going to get a lot of people that are going to negatively look at you because you can't bend to their needs because they're calling 12, 15 people. Oh, well, they're available. Why aren't you available? Now, you go the other part, west, that's when you start building your way to the top, as in, okay, I'm going to start small. So first saturate your own area. Okay, people are already... Hey, if you've been there 18 years, well, I'm pretty sure you have some friends. You probably know people. Well, now they know what you're doing. And that's the perfect place to do it, especially when you start going as a cutoff at Gastonia. And then at that last highway, you keep zooming out. I couldn't see that one highway in downtown, the outside of downtown. But the cool place of that is Suburbia. Suburbia is the bread and butter of this business because they're the ones that will call you again. They're the ones that need things that maybe they don't want to spend the time to do. Whereas, like, I love commercial, don't get me wrong. But I look at commercial people. I'm not saying they're all like this, but when they call, I don't expect them to call me again and again and again and again. Now, I'm not saying they don't. Yes, they do. We have a lot of repeat business in the commercial sector. But for the most part, residential is what really boosts your business. Those are the people that care truly about the one-on-one interactions. So yeah, I mean, that's just a simple way to put it. Look in the downtown area. Hey, that's a race to the bottom. And there's a lot of groups out there. I don't know if you're a part of them. I try to stay silent because you're going to find real quick who your competition is not. I'm going to tell you that because they're everywhere. And just because they may be flashing dollar bills in their videos of picking up trash and, oh, I only did this and I charge $300. That's great. But I don't care because those guys are racing to the bottom. Those are also the same people that are going to undercut on a group post just to be that guy, right? Oh, I'd have done it for $100. And you're like, yeah, you're an idiot. But those are the kind of people you deal with when you get in those more saturated urban areas because saturated urban areas because there's so many people, man, and now they're all competing for the bottom as well.
So here you go. Here's I've never heard of this junk trunk.
Looks like a Western. Nope, never heard of them.
Trunk. Never heard of them. It looks like a franchise. So people think, oh, you do all this like big research. No, this is how I Google stuff. I look at maps and I Google.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything you want to find out, you can Google. I'm just looking for their actual website. I don't see it. I see their Facebook page. Looks like they got a location in West Virginia. Maybe I don't know if it's associated with this other one that I'm seeing in North Carolina. But it looks like they're in where you want to be, right in that sweet spot.
I saw them.
Okay, you see those guys. All right. So here's the other thing. I'm glad I saw this because I didn't see this at first. I also don't want to start a junk removal company where nobody else is there. that to me is like, okay, well, I don't want 10 people there, but I don't want 0 people there either.
You don't want your competition to be scrappers only, because they're going to do anything for $100. And then that kind of, it's a sweet spot. I'm not saying go where there's a bunch of competition. That's not what Andy's saying, but he's saying, look, if you're the only guy in town, there's a reason.
Correct. Go where there's proof of concept. What we've proved now is, hey, there's a successful junk roll company in your area, so they've already done the proof of concept for you. I've entered markets where I was first to market, and that wasn't good. I was first to market, and what I realized was that area didn't need, want, or desire what I had. And a lot of times it's because they had their own transfer station or waste station, or people just figured it out, or they just wouldn't pay prices behind, chucking a truck, to Casey's point. So there was no I don't want to use the word large junk removal companies, but established junk removal companies, because it wasn't in their best interest. And so, all right, I like your area. What else, without looking at maps all day, what else have you learned or haven't learned, or questions you have about your market?
Oh, well, one of the biggest problems I've had so far is finding a trailer that I would be able to use. I didn't want to have to upgrade my truck. I got an F-150, and that particular one could tow 7,500 pounds. Most of the trailers that I've been finding are like 4,000 pounds.
So trailers that's an easy fix. You can get a trailer anywhere. I started with an F-150. It looked like a Lincoln, because it was a Lincoln Mark IV, but it was an F-150. And yes, you're limited, but you know what? It's like putting the freaking horse before the cart. Start with what you got, man. I mean, why not? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, you'll go a few months, and then you'll realize that you need an upgrade more than you want an upgrade. Right now, you don't need to upgrade your truck, right?
So you suggest starting with a dump trailer, because that's why they're obviously so heavy.
Andy and
we both.
I started with open trailers.
Yeah.
I started with a Jeep.
I started with dump trailers.
I started with a Jeep, and open trailers. I went Jeep, Hummer, Dodge 1500, so equivalent to a 150, right? A 24-foot box truck. Oh no, then we bought the Ford. We bought the Ford F-250 in between that, right? It took me my 4th vehicle before I got a 2500 or 250, 3/4 ton truck, and I wouldn't invest in a 150, but if I had a 150, I would start there.
Yeah.
To Casey's point, because you got to go start banging some jobs to see if it's viable. Either go buy a shitty little trailer and figure out how to do it the hard way, so that when you get the big boy trailer and truck, you're ready to go. What you don't want to do is spend $100,000 between a truck, trailer, and some other startup costs. Do it for 6 months and hate hauling junk.
Now,
that's what you don't want to do.
That's the cool thing about not being in a franchise, is you have that flexibility of limiting your input before you realize if you want to do this. Because that was one of the struggles we faced being in a franchise. You're kind of committed, man. You're like, look, if we don't like it month 6, tough shit. We got money on the line. We have to keep going. Now, as far as trailers go, we started with a dump trailer. It was a 12-foot by 6-foot, and then we built up walls through like family, friends, a guy down the street, and they were shitty. They just kept breaking. Finally, we spent the actual money on having it like fabricated legit, and we're like, oh wow, we should have done it the first time. I'll tell you this.
That's what I'm afraid of doing, is getting something crappy and having to spend that money anyway.
So
to get something.
Andy has said this before, and I've said this before. In the beginning of your business is where you spend your money. Now, everybody's like, well, I have a budget. I mean, I don't have that much money. We get it. But in my terms of thinking, my first 6 months, where you spend your money, it follows you. So you can either go cheap, start off cheap, but as you progress in your business, you're going to be spending this money you're making on upgrading things and fixing things and getting something else. Or here's the cool thing about a dump trailer. It's not like you're getting the wrong equipment for the job. It's just you're getting an upgraded version before you think you need it. Now, being in North Carolina, it's still the South area as far as the country goes. So for me, for instance, I went dump trailer because of a ton of brush jobs, ton of brick, construction. I mean, you only want to touch that shit once, right? At the same time, the only argument I ever heard opposing a dump trailer was from my own franchisor, because it doesn't what do you call it? It doesn't help me separate the good shit from the bad shit. It becomes a lazy push of a button. And I'm like, well, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. If that's the only reason I shouldn't get a dump trailer, okay, well, just check your shit. The dump trailer was great for me because the same day I could do a little backyard patio demo job, go dump it, right? Go right to the next job, boxes, some good furniture, what have you, tarp it, go drop it off. Maybe it's good stuff for donation. Yeah, it's a little pricier, but I'm going to tell you right now, in this business, if you start off with a landscape trailer, I can almost guarantee in the next few months to 6 months, you're either going to be wishing you had a dump trailer or you're going to be buying a dump trailer.
It's doing the work twice.
It is.
Correct. You're going to spend $2,500 to $3,000 on a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to spend another $1,200, $1,500, maybe $2,000 on fabricating it to the sides of the right, because landscape trailers are never tall.
$10,000
enough.
is what you're looking
right?
at.
So now you're
10, 12.
No, but I'm saying you're $4,000 to $5,000 into a utility trailer, typically single axle, which means 3,500 max weight. So even if you build a trailer, it's going to weigh 2,000 pounds. So anything over a ton is going to start bending the axle. And okay, so do you want to spend $3,000 to $5,000 on something that's going to last you 6 months, or do you want to spend 10 to 12 on something that's going to last you 6 years?
Yeah, I always invest for things to last. So
okay, and then in that same token, the ass end of your F-150 will fall off after 6 months if you start pulling a dump trailer, right? Because that dump trailer dual axle, I think weighs what, 4,500 pounds minimum.
Yeah,
3,000 really? Okay, I got one. I should know this. Shit.
Well, I'll
all right, so 3,000 pounds.
Point for that.
But plus you put a ton in there. Now you're pulling 5,000, 6,000 pounds. So your F-150 might be rated for 7,500 pounds.
Not for every single day.
But that's not every day.
not every single day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's pulling the fucking boat to the damn lake. That ain't pulling fucking concrete. And I guarantee you're going to take your dump trailer and be like, oh, I got about 2 ton in there. And it'd be like 3.5 ton later, you're like, Jesus. Right?
You're definitely going to have some oh shit moments driving on the highway. Like, I can't stop because the trailer's not going to stop. At the same time, I can't really change lanes because the trailer wants to do its own thing. But I'll tell you this, with having the 150, especially just starting out, you're kind of in that sweet spot. You're not going to be too busy where you're going to be killing it every single day. But also at the same time, it gives you enough room to gauge what your business is, where it is, what you want it to be, and you're getting these jobs done.
If you're filling that dump trailer with furniture, even heavy fucking furniture, you're only putting 2,000 pounds in max. Just correct.
Casey, what, like when you first started, how much do you think you were pulling usually and putting in that trailer? 2,000 pounds, 4,000.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll break it. Well, yeah, I'll break it down real quick. Even with it, because I run dump trailers too. This is just math. The math of it says if you have MSW, your standard like furniture standard load, 12 by 6 by 6 trailer, 16 cubic yards, about 2,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Once you start mixing in loose small items, food waste, things like that, now you're at 3,000 to 4,000 pounds. Once you start putting in earth materials, not fucking brush, but
brick, stone,
lumber, concrete, dirt, all that shit, now you're 2 ton minimum, probably closer up to 3 ton, so 6,000 pounds.
Well,
when I look at a lot of the guys like Casey was talking about that are picking up loads on the side of the road, those are probably 3,000 to 4,000 pounds because a lot of loose shit. There's fucking bricks in there. There's wood. There's stuff that it's just smalls. It fills the trailer slowly, but very heavy.
And I'm guessing, have you at least looked into your landfill and transfer stations? And okay, so I'm guessing they charge based on weight. Okay,
it's really cheap, like $30 per ton. I think.
Okay, so
is there a minimum?
Yeah.
So
are there 1 ton minimum?
I think so. I think no matter what, you're going to be paying $30.
Okay, well that's great. By the way,
is there any additional fees? Yeah, that's fucking disgusting.
It was pretty open.
I love the South. Okay, so down south, I see minimums as low as 25, 30, up to like 45, 50, maybe 65. Yeah, and in Wisconsin, we have $50 minimum fees just to drive in, and then a $60 minimum plus tax. It's $115 for me to drive in the landfill with 1 ton.
Once you get into Mecklenburg County, where Charlotte is, that's when everything goes up.
Okay, there's another reason to fucking aim small, miss small. Chill out in the.
So the cool thing about that, though, and what you have going for you is, in this business, here's where people fall short. They always think, well, I know what my dump fee is. That's great, but do you know how much your shit weighs that you're loading? Not all the time, especially when you first start out. You're not, because you're charging pretty much volume, but you're paying on weight, and it's an oxymoron because this right here could be full of cement, and I could tell you, hey, it's just a tumbler. You know, the volume doesn't change, but the weight does. So it's the same thing with the trailer. And I tell people when there's a guy down here, he had a landscape trailer he started out with, and then he got rid of it and got a dump truck. I said, I wouldn't have done that. I would have kept it because I even had an enclosed single axle at one point. My second year, I got it cheap, and I was like, you know what, this would be perfect for furniture that's nice. Don't have to worry about just overloading it, but it gives you that safety of an enclosed trailer. And guess what pulled it? The freaking Lincoln. All right. So I kept that Lincoln. But that's the cool thing is you have the F-150. Perfect. Is it paid off? You mind if I ask?
No, it's not paid off.
All right. That's fine. Because ours was paid off. I was like, yeah, we're going to use it till it dies. But
we love this. It's a 2016.
Okay. You're good.
A few months ago.
So just gauge in your head, have a cutoff limit, even if you don't use it every day. Just try to build up to the upgrade of truck because your next truck is going to be a workhorse. Okay. It's going to get treated like such. You may take care of your stuff. That's fine. I do too. But when it comes to a work truck, like right now it's pissing down rain, there's flood. And if I was in business right now, we're going to be doing work in this. And whoever's with me are going to be covered in mud, soaking wet, ass sweat all over the seat. Next thing you know it, a couple of days go by. And now there's a stink inside the truck that just doesn't go away. So now it's a work truck. So go ahead and plan it out on paper, F-150 until month, whatever, 3, 4, 5. But I definitely would start if you have the money and the possibility of getting a dump trailer. I would go ahead and invest in a dump trailer to begin with. That's just me personally, because that's what we did. If we're going to spend the money, we might as well spend it up front and not have to wait until we desperately need it. I don't like making decisions out of desperation. So, yeah. As far as the trailer goes, that's where I see fit. Now, look, when you keep going and like year 2, year 3 comes around and you're like, fuck, man, box trucks, I used this box truck this one time and ever since then I got it down to a science. Then guess what? Now you're going to be like Andy, because Andy, I'm going to tell you now, we've had millions of conversations. Box trucks work for him, right? He's not saying, Casey, you have to use box trucks or you're an idiot. Just like I'm not like, box trucks are stupid, Andy. You're in it. No, because they work for him, just like they didn't work for me, but dump trailers did, and so did 3/4 ton diesel trucks.
It depends what you're going to be hauling. That really comes down to it.
Yeah, consistently.
And Casey and I could be in the same market, and we're hauling 2 different things because we're going after 2 different customers. You got to decide: do you want to be more residential facing? In nicer houses in the suburbs and doing what you can to recycle materials and donate them, you go the box truck route. Do you want to be a guy that is kind of all things to all people? Maybe you go utility trailer route and you keep your expenses low and you're the nice guy in town that makes bought yourself a job, right? But if you're looking to scale and build a business and be efficient and get some, build some teams, dump trailer routes the way to go. Right? Those are they're 3 very different schools of thought. I guess that's the other question. What does success look like for you? Are you looking to do something on your own to not have a boss, or are you looking to grow and scale a company where someone's running it someday and you're more of an operator or more of an owner and less of an operator?
So I'm kind of burnt out on managing lots and lots of employees, a couple hundred employees currently. It's exhausting. It's just so problematic. It's unbelievable. Especially for a large corporation. So I want it to be very small in the beginning. I want to do things myself, run it myself, build a business for my family. My kids are I have twins that are about to turn 5 in a couple months. So I kind of want to build something up, a business for them to possibly get involved with. If they don't, that's fine. They can do whatever they want. But I want that option to be out there for them. I never had that opportunity. So I would like to, to eventually build it up and then have more trucks and more employees and take a back seat and have a GM run it. But right now I just want it to be me.
That's like the perfect answer.
I like that. And the other thing is, that is actually, it's a great answer. It really is, because a lot of people have these big fucking ideals, and I'm like, man, just go bang jobs for 6 months. I did what you're doing now. I did that for years because I needed the scratch, and I had a truck and a trailer and a good attitude. I did nights and weekends for years while that's when I was my full-time job, went to college, all this other stuff, because I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. I just knew I could do this. And then eventually I'm like, hey, why don't I how about this thing that I look forward to every weekend? Why don't I do this full time? Right. But it wasn't 15 years ago. I was like, hey, let me start an empire. It was like, hey, let me just fucking bang jobs on the weekends and get some beer money. I mean, that's where it started. And I loved recycling. And then 2009 hit, and I didn't have a job, so I had plenty of time and not enough money. And I was like, all right, let's do this a little bit. And then I kept getting distracted by life, and got a job, went to college, got married, got divorced, all this, life shit got in the way. And then I got deployed for a second time. And after my deployment, I was like, no, this is what I actually enjoy doing. Right. I don't have to come back to a job. I had that luxury at the time to, okay, I had a couple dollars saved up. Let me do this thing now. Now that I don't have to do stuff, what do I get to do? And junk removal was the answer.
That's what I'm looking for is, being my own boss, freedom, choosing when I'm going to work and when I'm not going to work.
So with that said, I would lean towards the dump trailer route. The reason is there's gonna be a lot of stuff that you can load safely by yourself, right? And because you're going the pickup truck and dump trailer route, you, to Casey's point, can self-select. Hey, what are things I'm gonna put to the side? What are things I'm gonna keep? What are things I'm gonna donate or recycle? You are the answer behind that. So you can develop your best practices the first 6 months, 18 months, 24 months while you're the primary hauler. Because if you're going slow and steady, that's probably how long it's going to be, right? You're going to have to go at least a year to a year and a half on the truck minimum to develop those best practices if you want to really establish and understand your market. And then on the flip side, right at the end of the day, you don't want to be the guy that pulls in the landfill at 3:45 and they close at 4 and you got a whole trailer almost by hand. That is me being as practical as I can.
You're that guy, man. Like,
right
I've
now,
been there.
You can dump it, pull forward, and throw some steel. Right, we all have been that guy. Like I can remember our landfill closed at noon on Saturdays. I roll up at 11:15. Also, when a landfill says they close at noon, that means everyone's fucking gone at noon. That means the gate closes at 11:35, 11:40. Right? They stay at 11:45, but they close that fucking gate when they can. Right?
And the exit gate, once that closes.
So if you roll in there at 11:15, I used to do that, 11:15, 11:20. Oh my God. I'd roll, you're calling the scale house. Cause also when you're in a landfill, you're in like the small, like where we have it, you're in the small dump or small truck unload by hand. No. They don't see you because they got the big truck, they got the residential, and then you're like in this little weird spot, small truck unloading. And I've been pulling out a landfill at like 12:15. Like I call the scale. Some guys that come up with a fucking key for the padlock, fucking hating me, right? God damn it. Like, it's not worth their fucking $12 I got out of them. Because back then I used to run an unmarked truck because we have huge price differences between residents and commercial accounts. And I used to run unmarked trucks, and everybody in this hustle does that if you have a huge discrepancy between residential and commercial. And that's the reality. I'll say that to Waste Management and Republic and GFL and all the big boys. If you're running a landscape, or if you're running a landfill, they know it. Every U-Haul that comes in there unmarked is not a resident, right? That's a fact, right? And those are the hustles. That's like, when you work at a restaurant and you put bread out at a table and it comes back untouched, I guarantee it's going up to the next table. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just telling you, these are the facts, right? These are the facts. You all got prime rib on Saturday night, Sunday morning prime rib sandwiches. That ain't fresh, right? That had a 12-hour sit in the fridge. They're just going to throw it back on the hot plate.
Well,
Sorry about you. So you got to learn those small hustles, and you'll do that. So if you pull,
I just to compound on your point, I think especially in the beginning, I'm not saying you're going to be going after any jobs, but you're going to realize also where your profit is on each type of job. So, like for instance, I loved brush jobs because I had it down to where I knew my disposal, I knew the amount, I knew the compaction rate, and I knew my profit. And a lot of people were like, "Well, I'll charge. I only charge $100 for a full trailer brush." And I'm like, "But why? I charge $450, $500." They're like, "That's insane." I was like, "But is it?" Because they're still paying me to do it, and they're still paying the $450, $500.
How do you make money on 100?
Right. Well, their justification is, well, it doesn't take that much money to.
What's that, Chris? What was your what?
Oh, he said, "How do you make a living?"
This isn't a charity.
And that's the thing you have to understand.
Yeah,
you're not a non-for-profit. But I learned real quick, brush jobs are aplenty down here, especially, you know what, August 22nd, 2022, that's today. We've had nothing but rain and floods for the past 2 days. I guarantee you, today, tomorrow, the rest of the week, there's going to be a ton of brush cleanups, fence cleanups, you name it. And if you have a landscape trailer, you're that guy who's putting your guys in there, getting all scraped up from pulling shit out by hand. Yep. Or you can be the guy who just pushes a button and bang out another job.
And it's hurricane season.
Well, yeah, you're on the coast too.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing. So not living in the South, I don't touch anything earth materials. No landscape, nothing. Like if someone said, like, we don't have brush up here. It's not a thing. And you also got to figure out what, like to Casey's point, what you like doing. Like me, I love commercial jobs. I love them. There's more metal, right? I'm a metal guy. So there's more metal than there is on residential jobs, which means there's more upside there. There's less resellable, but fine. I don't care. I'm not here to resell, right? So you got to find. There's some people I know, especially when the franchise we were part of was part of in the Philadelphia area. They only did residential jobs because they would do rummage sales and donations, and all they wanted was household shit that they could sell.
Sometimes they pick shit up for free.
God bless. Like that was their thing, right? Correct. Yeah, exactly. They would pick it up for free because they knew they'd pick it up on a Thursday afternoon for free, curbside. They'd go put it in their rummage sale and sell it for $200 on a Saturday morning.
That's their prerogative. Like, good for them.
That's awesome.
My wife and I have already started on pieces of furniture like that. She's a wizard on Facebook Marketplace, so we've been picking up furniture for absolutely nothing. And if we have to do some work on it, we do some work on it. It's still
correct.
Really
Yeah, the other thing I'll tell you right off the bat, and this is something to be mindful of for not just you, but all our listeners, get into one business and master it before you do a second. So now, if you want to get in the business of junk removal and your wife wants to get in the business of resell or refinish, that's awesome, right? And you can support, right? And you can support her and she can support you, but you can't run both businesses because you'll consistently have points of conflict. And that's one thing I did notice. There was a couple, husband and wife couple that I knew in Philadelphia where he ran the junk removal, she ran the resale, and they bought themselves a job and they were happy. They were so fucking happy. Dude worked like 25, 30 hours a week. She would answer the phones for his junk removal company. Like it was both their companies.
I think it's in Ohio, not Philly.
For context here, right? Well, the one I'm thinking of is in Philly. I don't know who was in Ohio that. And I think it was a Fitzpatrick's in Philadelphia, if I recall correctly. But anyway, super nice people. Oh yeah. Actually, they did well too. But anyway, so he ran primarily the junk removal, the crews and the jobs, right? And she would answer the phones and help out. She would support him, and then she would do the resale, right? And so she was getting in with all the women of the suburbia, whatever, right? And he would support her by bringing the stuff out and loading in the car and whatever. And they built themselves like this awesome life, right? And then the challenge with them was when they wanted to take a week vacation, their business shut down, right? Which can work, but then there's no money coming in. Or if he got hurt on the job, I think he did at one point, pulled a muscle or something like that. They didn't have somebody else trained to run the truck. So now their ability to scale was significantly compromised, but they had the life they wanted. That's like, there's an old parable of a fisherman in Mexico who's out. He catches his daily fish, enough fish to eat, right? And then an American businessman comes by and says, well, why don't you catch more fish and get a boat, and then catch more fish and get a bigger boat, and then catch more fish and get a fleet of boats, right? And then you can do whatever you want. And then he goes, but all I want to do is fish and sit on the beach, and I'm doing that today, right? Like, it's okay. Like, what is your end state, right? My goal is with our junk roll business, my goal is the ability to do the podcast and travel and go to speaking engagements and go to conferences and learn about the industry and be an advocate for the industry. Well, I can't do that if I'm banging jobs or turning wrenches or emptying trucks, right? So I've been fortunate to build a business so that I can sit here and talk to Casey and you on Monday afternoons, right? But that was my end state. So it's important that you understand your end state, and then you prioritize that business. And it can only be one business, junk removal. That's it. And then get good at the disciplines and the craft of it. And we talked about in other episodes, on the back end waste stream, you're not going to be an expert at everything, but you got to get an expert at disposal right off the bat, right? What you can and cannot take to your landfill, what recycling facilities and things like that. You don't have to be an expert at the material itself, but where can you take stuff? Because you're going to run into, probably in your first 10 jobs, a material that the landfill doesn't take.
You need to know every, and
you don't know what that is.
You need to know every disposal
site. But you got to become an expert at that.
And the reason I say every disposal site is because there's going to be times where, you know what, maybe you have a job at 3:00 and it's 10:30. You're wrapping up a job. You head to the landfill. Guess what? There's a 2-hour line. And you're just like, holy shit. Now what do you do? Well, call the other one and then head that way. But at the same time, there's two things that are going to be your most expensive thing in this business: payroll and disposal. That's going to be your most expensive. Disposal is on every effing job until you make the decision to have it work for your benefit, though, right? But in the beginning, I tell this to everybody: do the thing. I mean, go to the landfill, get a flat tire at the landfill, change a tire in the mud in the landfill, to get that trash juice all over your shit, and then regret the entire decision of getting into junk removal for at least a couple of weeks, because you're going to do it. There's going to be times where you're going to be like, fuck this, I'm done. And then the next morning you wake up like, man, I can't wait to go get it. Let's go. Like, it's just going to happen, man. Especially when you get that bad job where you're slinging trash bags, and that one that you just sling a little wrong angle, everywhere. Now you're stuck there having to clean up all the banana peels and nasty fermented shit.
Bacteria. All down the back too.
You got to do
it. It always breaks back here, not going. It breaks right in that motion.
But you know what? You got to do it. And I tell people, there's no way.
Nanner peels on your neck.
You can't skip it.
Hold on. There we go. Hold on. That Taylor. So last week's episode, I had a name for the episode in the middle of it. I completely forgot. So unless we come up with a better name, the name of this episode is going to be Nanner peels on your neck. Getting into junk removal. That'll be
or that exploding diaper because it's just been soaked.
Nanner peels on your neck. All right. What? Oh my god. All right. So we got your area. I already looked up two transfer. I found a landfill within 15 minutes of you and a transfer station within 30 minutes of you. And there's another landfill. Looks like about a half hour from you up in. Well, that looks terrible. 1.6 star rating. Not a great landfill. Republic Services Lake Norman landfill. How far? Yeah, I have no idea how far that is. Yeah, well, that might be worth the drive. I shit you not. The old 27 landfill, which might be my favorite named landfill in all of America. The old 27. That doesn't look too far from you. It looks like an independent landfill. Then the South Charlotte transfer station. But yeah, I would call every landfill in the city within an hour of you. Like you said, it's far away. Well, you might have a job that's halfway between you and them, and it makes most sense to go there, right? So call everyone and get smart on what they take, what they don't take, what's your price to get in, what are their lines like? Because there's going to be a day where you're like, you know what, I'm going to eat the money at a landfill and the distance because they're open an hour later or whatever, or it makes most sense because I can go pick up this other job because it's already close to that area. So it's better to have all the options and make a decision with information than it is to say, oh, that's the only landfill I go to. Because now you just limited your ability for potential.
But you can also start giving yourself cutoff points, right? So that's what we got to the point where we had, I don't remember how many, probably 7 different landfills or options, disposal options. And we had this big map. After a certain point on the map, you're going here. You're not going to go to this one because you're used to it. You're going to this one. After this point, you're going to this one.
Yep.
And as you get more familiar with it, once you get to the point where you get to get a guy or your own crew, that's where it comes in handy, because now they have better options, and now you're managing their time better.
Yep.
Now, I'll also tell you, getting into this and being your own boss, it's amazing. It's awesome. But here's where you got to be careful. In the beginning, remember, if you get hurt, sick, something comes up, your entire business stops. All right. I wouldn't necessarily go and hire someone right now.
Yep.
But I would talk to some people part-time. Hey man, how would you like to do this, and this? Because you're going to get to the point where you're going to have a week that's going to kick your ass. And then the next week's going to start looking like it's going to be like the one before. And you're going to be like, shit, I wish I had help. I can't do that again. So I'd still start talking to some people, getting them in the groove of what you're doing. Part-time workers are great, especially, high school kids and college kids, right? Like a happy medium, because they hey, $15 an hour. Sweet. I don't have to go work at Sonic or whatever. But also, figure out if you want to do this. Go do some jobs. Do it for like a few months. That's literally a few months. You can't go out in a week and know if this is worth investing into. Go ahead.
Well, we had Tracy was on like 3 months ago, 2-3 months ago, right when he was starting. His first full month in business, he did $10,000 worth of work. When you first start, and I know that same thing. My first month in business, I did $13K.
75.
Right, your first month, but my second month, I only did $16,000. Mm-hmm. Right, but then my third month, I did $29,000. Because your first month, you are going to get the lowest of low hanging fruit ever. Right, and then your second month, you got to work a little bit harder. And by your third month or fourth month, you're like, okay, I'm starting to see a little pattern of where I can get to it. So this is my advice. Start, whether or not you quit your job or not, that's insignificant, but start banging jobs now and know that your first couple of weeks and months, when you just tell people, hey, you go to the chambers or you go to local restaurants, you go to Little League, you go to wherever you're already known and tell them you got into this, you put on Facebook, you're going to get 12, 15 super simple jobs right off the bat, right? Your first 20 jobs are going to come at you so fast. But the next jobs, like 20 to 50, are going to be a struggle. But you got to get those 50 jobs under your belt just to have a fucking sense about what you like doing or don't like doing. Because one day you're like, oh my God, that was the best job ever. And the next 4 of them suck. Then you're like, oh, wait, you know what? No, I don't want to do this, whatever thing that is, right? So ease into it nice and slow. The other thing, and this is to what Casey was talking about a little bit, whatever you establish day one will be your standard operating procedure until it isn't. So start making the decisions now and testing your theories now. And I fucking hate this. I'll be the first to admit it. I hate it, but it's true. 3 magic words: document, document, document. Every single job, you got to know who are they, how they found out about you, how big a job it was, how long it took you, how much it cost you, where did you take the load, where couldn't you take, like, and I don't care if you pen and paper this thing, I don't care if you have a note, I don't care if it's an Excel spreadsheet. You got to document. I didn't. I had chicken scratch sheets of paper all over my Jeep to a point where people are like, hey, Andy, you're supposed to be at our estimate. I'm like, oh, yeah, Willowwood Lane, I'm on my way. And I'm like, GPS 18 minutes. Yeah, I'll be there right around the corner. I'll be there in 15 minutes. And I would walk back in the house, like, Isaac, I would drop the trailer in the driveway, like, dude, I got to take the truck. I got to do the estimate because whatever, right? And then afterwards, my first year, I remember my hair was on fire for 6 months. I could tell you how much money we did, and I could tell you nothing else.
But it's so important you do that.
Because I didn't document it. I was just fucking like, this is awesome. My phone's ringing. You got to document every single job because you cannot rely on your memory, and you got to be able to go back and actually say, okay, hold on. Do I take every load to the landfill? What percentage of my loads do I go to the landfill? When did I bring a load back to my house and resort it? How much did I really donate? Because those, you got to do it for your first 50 jobs, your first 500 jobs, and your first 5,000 jobs. Because when you get in a habit of documenting it, you'll realize, okay, that's not important. That's not important. That's not important. It's better to have the information you think that might be important someday and dismiss it than never capture it.
Plus, you always go back and look at it.
I had to go back 18 months worth of data to figure out how did people hear about me? Because I didn't document it.
Yeah,
I was just guessing.
Yeah, we started on a piece of paper.
That one you have to document every single.
Yeah,
customer.
we started on these little templates. It's called customer sheet, and it had all those items pre-printed. And all you do is just fill it out by hand. And the cool thing is, it helps you with everything. It helps you with estimates in the future because now you can be like, you know what, I had a job like this one time, and you can look at it and be like, oh, I charged this lady $300. It really wasn't that worth it though, so maybe I should bump it up. Or that was an easy $300, so hey, I'm going to go with $300 again. Just document everything. But most importantly, for your marketing, you need to know where these people are finding you, why they're calling you.
100%. Yep, because you'll once you start documenting it, every single person I've ever coached or mentored in junk removal, once they actually document it for 30 days, what they thought was their top top 3 or 5 lead sources aren't true. Because they have a biased perspective, including me. If you would have asked me where are my customers from, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is where they're from. I would just remember the last 3 customers I talked to. What about the 7 customers that talked to my operations person that I never talked to that book jobs? Where are they coming from? Right? You just have a bias unless you document it, because the truth never lies, right? But you have to capture the truth. So from day one, document jobs. All right, with respect to job, few more minutes here. What other questions you have? I want to make sure we give you the answers.
I had was that, currently when you first started, did you guys pay your employees by the hour or by the job or a little bit of both? Or
always by the hour with a incentive or bonus or something, because at the end of the day, unless they're an owner, they don't deserve to be paid by the job, right? Deserve both ways. Because the job goes fucking long, that's not their fault, that's your fault. Your responsibility, right? And if the job goes right, it's also your responsibility. Now, if you want to give them a little bit of cheddar because you banged it out fast, God bless. But unless they are an owner of your business and put $1 into it, always pay them by the hour.
Also, pay them by the hour, but in your head,
because if you start paying guys by the jobs, in
your head, you have to realize and get this down and write it down. You're paying them for the entire day. Even if you don't, you need to be thinking that way. They're on the clock for 8 hours today. Now, if it's a short day, it's a short day. But when you get past that motion, okay, I'm hiring this guy by the hour, but he's going to be working 8 hours. So I'm going to write my expense down as an 8-hour labor. Then you'll start understanding a little bit more like, okay, cool. They're not going to take advantage as much as you thought they were. I'm not saying you're not going to get some shitbags, but for the most part, you don't want to be like, hey, I just need you for 2 hours, because they're probably not going to show up.
That's what I was
their level of commitment to you is a reflection of your level of commitment to them. If they're working 3 days a week, 6 to 8 hours, okay, you're going to get a part-time employee commitment. If they work for you once in a blue moon, you're going to have to pay them more. You're going to have to pay them cash, right? But if you think you're going to get a guy to show up for Saturday for 3 hours just to help you with the hard part of the job, and then you're going to diddy him out, he ain't going to show up for $45, right? If you have no other commitment to him. Now, if he's a friend, family, neighbor, relative, and he's just doing it for beer money and to tell some fucking stories, okay, maybe. But always pay him by the hour, because once you start paying people by the job, now you start treating them like an owner, and they're not an owner. They don't own that customer. They don't own that project. They don't own that profit or loss. You do, and you do alone.
Only time I recommend paying anybody by a job is if they are a legit subcontractor.
What's next?
And you are not doing the job. That's
different. Correct, because you're hiring something completely different. That's a subcontractor. Because now they're taking the risk, and now you're not counting the hours and minutes. You're counting the value they brought to your project.
A huge deal.
If you got a demo job or something, a guy shows up with a skid steer. Hey, I'm going to pay you to use your skid steer to take this pile of debris and put it in my trailer. That's what I'm going to pay you for. If we get done in 6 hours or 2 days, I'm paying you this many dollars. He will be motivated to get done as quick as possible, right? But that's a subcontractor, not a W-2 employee. Completely different ballgame.
I haven't been able to find any information on this, but, without being obviously heavy duty truck or a CDL license. Are there any other DOT
You have to check with your state
regulations you got to
check with
follow?
your state.
I will give you zero advice when it comes to this. I will give you zero. I will give you zero advice because I found out last week that we needed a med card for interstate commerce for one of our trucks that drove within 1 mile of the border. Didn't cross the border, but they're like, well, this is interstate commerce. We go, we didn't cross the border. He goes, but how do I know that? Well, we have Wisconsin plates and we're in Wisconsin. He's like, but you could have crossed the border. You're right. We could have. And in Illinois, you can pull us over for interstate commerce. Told us we needed a med card. So I had to send my general manager over to get a med card for them to make sure that he could turn his head and cough, grab his balls, he had some hearing, and his heart wasn't going to blow up. And he got a magical piece of paper that he said he could drive near the border. So I will give you no advice if anybody ever says, I heard Andy and Casey talking about this, and it has anything to do with license or regulation, government or lawyers or taxes. You did not hear this from me.
Check with your state. Yeah.
Ever. I don't care if I said something. You didn't hear it from me. Check with your state.
I think I'm on a delay.
Yeah. What else? You are on a delay.
Yeah, lost your internet.
Your internet's weak.
I guess names have also been a struggle on, what to, because I obviously want to start an LLC, so.
Yeah.
Start an LLC. Here's the thing. Start an
LLC.
The LLC doesn't matter because you're going to do a DB. Correct. You're going to do a DBA doing business as a name.
Like I was just going to use my last name,
I don't like that.
No.
I don't like last names, and I don't like last names, and I don't like city names or location names because you limit your ability to grow, sell, or scale. Right? Unless you find someone else with the last name of Lawrence, it's not very repeatable. And that's me.
So when you put your name on something, just remember your name's on it. And all else fails, your name is on it. So if your name is on an LLC, it will affect you and your name. All right. I'm not saying you're a bad person. All I'm saying is there's people out there that are bad people. Okay. And they're going to be like, oh, shoot, Lawrence Junk Removal. Well, I'm pretty sure it's this guy because his last name's Lawrence.
Correct. Exactly. And if anything catastrophic happens and you need to exit the business, they can destroy the business and destroy the business name. And if your last name is associated with that, they can destroy you. And that's something. So my father was Dan Weins Home Improvement for years, and he switched to 2-man crew. It's never anything catastrophic, but that was advice he got 20 years ago, and I always heed that warning. So I've never put my name at any of our businesses. So I would come up with something else. I don't care.
Especially on something as high liability as this. This is you're going to have some liability rolling into this kind of business, man. You're going to break some shit. You're going to, hurt someone's floor. You're going to nick someone's wall. I mean, it's going to happen. So the more you can remove yourself from liability,
correct. You might. Yep. So you can do like Lawrence Removal or Lawrence Junk Removal, DBA. Come up with something. The logo, the branding. We talk about marketing. You got to market yourself. Be a reputable person that's not a turd. And the logo the logo is less significant, especially where you want to be. If you spend the next 12 months banging out jobs and you do a rebrand, God bless, right? Because people are going to remember how you treated them and how they felt when the job was done, not the name on the side of your truck.
Word of mouth.
100%.
Starting. Yes.
What's your guys' best advice on business insurance? How to go about
it?
Don't do it without it.
Get it. Get the minimum. Get the
I said, don't do it without it. Like that is the number one thing I tell you right now. Insurance, insurance, man.
Yep. Get the. Yep. Get the minimum you need to have the maximum coverage. I was for like 2 or 3 years. I was listening to the janitorial company because I had an insurance guy that said, "Hey, that's good." I was like, "This is great." My rates were low, blah, 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 until I got into an incident, and they're like, yeah, you're not covered. I was like, that sucks, right? So it's one of those, like, don't lie to the insurance company. Let the insurance company lie for you, right? So tell them exactly what you're going to do and how much, right? And if you say, hey, I'm going to do $50,000 this year, and they write your policy for $50,000, right? And you end up doing $250,000, they're going to audit you and they're going to get your money, right? So you're getting the maximum insurance for the minimum cost, and you will deal with it later. Now, when they audit you, you're fucked, right? But you already made the money. I'd rather do that than have them owe me money. Because when they owe me money, it takes weeks, if not months, to get paid.
So I'll say this too: when it comes to insurance, for me, I always upgraded my insurance to fit a lot of my needs, right? And you're gonna see this especially as you grow, and your first 6 months, I predict you'll get probably 2 really big job opportunities. I mean, so big you're not gonna know what to do with them, and then you're gonna look at yourself like, holy shit, how do I get this? Don't go change your insurance if you haven't been paid yet. Like if you're not getting the deposit yet, they haven't approved your estimate yet, don't go get your insurance. All right. It's okay to say, hey, look, I will be covered if this thing goes through. If you approve this, I promise you I'll be covered. Now, we actually, at the end of it, we were paying about $3,000 a month for insurance. That was at 6 years, but we were doing a lot of big stuff that we needed to be covered. And that $3,000 a month was well worth the coverage, let me tell you.
Yeah, I had a to that point, Casey's point. I think it was let's call it the first 6 months, first year, whatever it was. I had one project where I had to get like a special certificate on my insurance. It was like $175 for a $30,000 project. Good. I had another one where it was like $2,500 additional insurance for a $700 job.
No, I'm good.
So I respectfully declined the $700 job because I couldn't even tell you what the coverage was. I have no idea. It was even my insurance guy is like, how much is this job for? And I told him, he's like, yeah, no, don't do that. And it was for a school district. They basically wanted me to have insurance where if every pipe burst in every school district in the state of Wisconsin, I could cover it or whatever. It was just something astronomical. I'm like, yeah, no, right? It was a random thing. So that's it. Just pick and choose your battles when it comes to insurance. Get the minimum. And there's going to be some big company that's like, hey, we need this. And all you do is forward that email to your good insurance guy. If you need a good insurance guy, I got one. You can probably write in your state. And then they'll add the certificate or the whatever they need. They'll send you back a COI same day, send you a bill for $200, and you go land that $10,000 job. And what you do is before you pay the $200, $300, you just forward that to the company you're potentially working for. Be like, hey, as soon as I get an approved quote or a down payment, I will provide you the COI. And then it's just you just merge it all together. But to Casey's point, don't go buy a bunch of insurance that you think you might need. The companies that will require shit will be very abundantly clear what they need on those COIs, those certificates of insurance.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Quick hits. We're already over time, but that's how we go.
No, I think you guys hit what I was asking.
Cool. All right. So what is your commitment to yourself now that what is your plan?
So my plan is to either leave my job at the end of September, or possibly the first of the year.
Okay.
But I'm hoping to get the trailer probably within the next month and start cranking out jobs on the days that I have off from my main job.
I love it. All right, so just change the word hope. Hope ain't a fucking plan, right? Planning on getting a trailer in the next month, right? Because plan is something you have to articulate and put down and actually hold yourself to. All right, so I got August 22nd. That's the date that we are recording this. You owe us, right? You owe yourself, I'll say, not us. We don't fucking count for anybody. Owe yourself an answer by September 30th, right? That you have secured a trailer and you've done something to book work. Done something. I don't care if you go to one chamber event, right? Done something in the business, buy a trailer, on the business, done something to make the phone ring.
Easy.
Get your LLC. Get an lastly, get an independent phone number. Do not use your personal phone number as a business phone number.
Google number.
Okay, good. Yeah, Casey's about to lose his fucking mind. Forgot about that tidbit of information. When we write the book of shit not to do in junk removal, that'll be in the preface. First off, go to Verizon or T-Mobile or Sprint or I don't know, Sprint's still around. Whoever, I think Sprint's T-Mobile now. Whatever, and change your number because I still get phone calls to this day on my personal cell phone. because at one point it was
Get
listed
another
on some
phone.
business card. That's it. Never been the official number, so I get phone calls to this day.
I'm saying him.
The ring's downstairs.
Chris,
I still get phone calls.
Yeah, you need another number, but I'm gonna tell you right now, you need another phone. You need two phones. Phone. It's gonna suck at first, but that way you're not answering your phone and not knowing who the hell you're talking to.
Physical device.
And you save that customer's number in that phone.
It's true. Good idea.
And also, it's the physical device, great, but also the physical device, because I know we can do one talk and all this other crap. The physical device is like, hey, I hold the power, right? And someday you might have to hand it to your wife or somebody else, and that is a symbolic
you're gonna love handing
moment that is amazing and scary all at the same time. You're gonna love handing it off until it rings, and you look at them, and they pick up the phone and don't sound like you, and then your hair's going to burst on fire, and you're going to have to remove yourself from the room. At least that's how. That's
Second
how
you're going to get anxiety from hearing the phone ring.
There we go. Hair on fire. Get a new number. Oh my God, I still get anxiety when the phone rings. I just got to walk away. That's what I got to do. All right, let's land this plane. So in this episode, I already forgot what it was. A banana peel on your back. Banana peel on your back. Episode 20. I want to quit my job and get into junk removal. What do I do? That's what we covered here today. Next week, we're going to cover something else because that's what we do here on the Trash Talk Business Podcast. On behalf of Casey Bubba Lawrence, I'm Andy Weins. Thank you so much for listening this week and all weeks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.